What do you think are the key strategies on this map? Bearing in mind the spawn points are...
I'm going to guess north and south pole. Actually, no, they're probably going to not quite there, are they?
They're not quite, but there's opposite sides of the pond where you see there's got a couple of... Where you've got the mechs 2x2.
I see.
Spawns.
I see. Okay.
I think those are the spawn points, I think.
Well, I suspect, given the name of the map, that the creator had in mind that the players would be fighting for the choke points on this sort of temple structure that we have neatly plastered to one side of the planet. Vaguely reminiscent of a sort of a Death Star lasery type thing, I think.
Possibly.
It's a bit too organic, perhaps, but you can get away with it, I think. I suspect, though, that given the teams involved, I know that we've seen already that the Spaghetti Strats guys have a very aggressive playstyle. So I can imagine them sort of fighting tooth and nail for it, and possibly doing quite well in doing so. But we shall see.
We shall see indeed. And the players spawning in now. Welcome, folks. It's semi-finals K games. The final of the best of three in the semi-finals between Team Spaghetti Strats and Pie of the People, comprising of the players in the drop-down. I'm joined by the Roncat, and would you like to discuss their spawns, Roncat? Because this is interesting.
These are indeed interesting spawns. I was expecting that they would be further apart than they are. However, it looks as though we actually have there are 4 spawns available in a crisscross formation around this lake, which we see here. And it looks like of the 2 teams, the blue team have opted to spawn on opposite sides from one another, whereas the black team have opted to spawn together. Now, in team games, it is very unusual for 2 commanders to spawn together, because what you really want to be doing is focusing on expansion, and by having your commanders further apart, it allows you to expand further. However, in this particular circumstance on this map, I can imagine that they're going to want to try and fortify their position against the blue teams, which are going to be trying to pincer them.
As soon as they realise that the blue have spawned apart, they need to actually scout that and make sure that that is... What? Okay,
what?
So... 2 T2 vehicle factories? I think that must have been a misclick on the first one. I think the first one is decaying.
I see. Now, they must have been watching the stream of the previous game, and I suspect...
Oh my goodness,
they might
up
be
it goes. It's going up super fast.
What are they focusing that with? There's,
2 commanders.
My goodness.
43, 44, 45. They did have a Pelican. I think it got away. It did. It dropped a Fabricator off into the temple to get all of that metal over there. I'm going to actually watch the temple in picture-in-picture, because it's just such dense metal over there that it's just essential to grab it. I'm
not sure what to make of this. I'm really not.
Very, very curious.
There's no easily defensible metal that I can see, apart from that stuff in the temple itself, which I can imagine if they put a tier 1 fabricator in there, they could easily follow that up with a tier 2 fabricator also being Pelican dropped into the temple. And as far as they're concerned, they might consider that to be fairly defensible metal.
We'll have to see as the T2 factory is now up. First things out is a leveler. Ooh.
Oh.
But they've managed to stall their eco a little bit. Their metal isn't working quite as well as it did.
That's the thing. It worked in the last game that we watched because they had all of that metal available at the start, whereas you just don't have that with this map. And I'm very, very surprised to see a tier 2 vehicle factory being built this early on. And you can see what it's doing is actually it's given map control almost entirely to the blue team, who've been expanding in the time they've just been sat there aiming at a structure in their base.
Yeah, I mean, the blue team do have greater map control, but they don't have substantial yet. The problem is levelers. If those levelers go unseen, if the T2 goes unseen, let's have a look at what blue can see. They do see the T2 vehicle factory. So here is the difference to the previous games where we've had T2 rushes. They have been scouted. And we'll probably see blue reacting accordingly. Do they know what is coming out of the T2? No. Ooh, I saw your ping, but I was looking in...
No, I'm pinging that because it looks like they're setting up camp here. Which I think validates my theory that they're going to try and airlift that advanced fabricator straight in there as soon as he comes off the production line. Pelican is sat there standing by. I suspect as soon as he rolls off the production line, that Pelican's going to swoop in and drop him inside the temple. And I also think that the commanders might follow him shortly after. It doesn't look like they're setting up a particularly big base here.
This is worrying. 4 levelers, almost in range of a commander.
What?
Already. And the commander, the water is not deep enough for the commander to hide away from this. Leveler's focusing down this commander. This could be a very, very early commander snipe. He's down to 76% already. It depends.
What
do
on
they
earth is
focus?
This? What is this? Oh my god, they got a commander kill.
That is what you... Wow.
Oh my word.
And they will mop up the base. They will mop that base up. The orcas...
I can't believe we just saw that.
Well,
6-minute commander kill, including spawn time.
The levelers are out of the bag, folks.
I can't believe we just saw
Blimey.
that, Marshall. That has absolutely shocked me.
Well, that's Mott and Protz with their spaghetti strats.
That was not spaghetti. That was a meatball.
Spaghetti does go pretty well with meatballs, it has to be said.
Clearly. I can't believe we just saw that. That is
Goodness.
absolutely staggering.
Oh, they're actually pelican lifting levelers.
What is this? This is absolutely off the charts.
The pelican dropping levelers against a combat fat. No, it's going past it. Okay, never mind. Ping's going off from blue saying, wait, there's something moving over there. What is this? Where is this leveler going?
He's going to just chill back here and mop up this other commander. He's going to go for this other commander over here. Oh my god. See a tier 2 factory of their own being built to answer this. It's too little too late in my opinion. I can't believe that has just happened. But, I mean, if you look in the economy tab, they have the eco advantage. They are floating pretty heavily because I think they're in a state of shock.
Yeah. They are kind of disgruntled, and I'm not surprised. When you've lost a commander, and effectively, they haven't lost a spawn yet, but when it's in such a dishevelled shape like that, what else can you do?
Oh no, Marshall! You must have missed that. A little force just pushed through here, but
I see mines detonated.
Blue have swooped in and put mines down inside the temple. So this expansion by Black is going to have to be accompanied by extreme caution, or ideally a few scout vehicles as well.
Ooh, but Blue have their own T2 vehicles up now.
It's very early play, but have they
fool me
conceded
once,
too
fool me
much
twice
control?
thing. I don't know. I don't think so yet. It's getting to that tipping point, I think, but I don't think it's not comeback formable.
I've lost my train of thought. I have no idea what to say at this point. I have no idea what's going on in the minds of the Black team. Usually, when you're casting a game of PA, you have a fairly good idea of what each team is planning at any given moment in time. But I am completely lost on this. I don't know what they're doing.
I think it's at that stage where I think they're going with their let's level rush the other commander, but they need to scout and realise that the other commander is in the middle of the pond now, where Blue have asserted their control, getting up T2 naval now.
Yeah,
this is the
naval.
answer. They have water control. T2 naval could be devastating for Team Black.
Although it looks, as I said at the start, it looks like Black are trying to set up camp in this temple, which is a long way away from that water.
Yeah, they're setting up camp, but they're not dealing with Blue's base and eco. And Blue's eco is actually it's not too bad now. Actually, it's beginning to catch up. They've got their T2 out. They've got their fabricator expanding in an opposite direction. Their T2 naval could pull them back from that early, setback. I think is the best way you can describe it.
An exposed advanced fabricator has just been pinged by the Blue team. They're going to try and pick him off with something. I suspect the bomber or two.
I don't think they have one. They don't
They
have
have
one.
no bombers. The
air production.
A second advanced vehicle factory going up from the Blue team. I think that actually we have seen the peak of Black's play, and unless they can sort of fix this up a little bit, I mean, they need to completely finish off this expansion inside the temple. They need to clear those mines. I don't think they even realise that they're there. They need to put some scouts in there to clear the minefield, and again, they're sending more units down, including some levelers, straight through another minefield.
There's
no scouting in there.
Your
You need some skitters, otherwise bad things happen to your units. If they're watching this, microing it at all, they're about to watch units explode in a most spectacular fashion. Yeah, they know.
Pull back,
they've seen it.
Pinged.
Pinged it, and now the skitters will come out. There they go.
Yeah.
They're building skitters now in the base. They're sending them out, which they've realised they need to do now, which is good. This leveler, unfortunately, is about to have a bad day as well, I think.
The thing with this force from Black is that, yeah, they have the skitters there and the levelers, but the force from Blue is actually superior at this point. And if we go into the army tab, Blue have the unit advantage. They have a significant unit advantage.
The all-in start from Black could really have sort of set the rest of their game if they're not careful.
Yeah, they need to make sure they follow it up and don't get carried away with that. And I think they're focusing too much on expansion right now and not enough on using their resources. They've just got up another T2 vehicle factory, so they'll be able to produce more levelers. But I think the big
Second
tipping
one
point
gone up for black as well.
is when we start seeing out the T2 naval. In fact, we do see Kaijus coming out now.
Oh, Kaijus. Okay, that's quite clever. I'm not going to lie. That's like Kaijus are like slightly weaker battleships, but of course amphibious and a lot more expensive.
I am actually, if you were to ask me right now to put money on a team, I'd say blue. Blue have the surround on black. They have the naval coastline locked down. They have a force of tanks coming in potentially from the northern side, I suppose, over here. And they have the superior T2 numbers, and they now have the Kaijus. And it's just a case of squeezing black until they are forced to retreat to the temple. And at that point, they are in a really sticky situation because
at that point, Marshall, I would recommend they pray.
Yes. To their spaghetti gods.
The flying spaghetti monster. Anyway, this has now officially been renamed to the Temple of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, and we have a skirmish here, which I strongly suspect that blue is going to win.
I think so too, and there's a commander there.
There's
and
a commander
T2
there.
vehicle.
Oh, are we going to see the boot on the other foot once more? That commander being subjected to some leveler fire.
You killed our commander with levelers, we shall do so in kind. Bombers now trying to deal with the vehicles on the other side, though, continuing to come in. The Kaiju's beginning to shell from the coastline there. And this is what I meant about black being forced onto the land and actually onto a back foot here in this game as blue are catching up with their eco. And they've actually surpassed black in the eco. Black, I think, went all in too early and are so far behind.
That was, I think I was really rooting for black after that, but I don't think they followed it up, or they perhaps
did
left
not.
themselves unable to follow it up. They overcommitted to a cheese strat, really. That was cheese, a cheesy meatball, and that just, it hasn't ended well for
Spaghetti,
them.
meatballs and parmesan.
That's it.
Spaghetti,
We can call
meatballs and
that-
excessive
in fact,
parmesan.
there we go. A leveler drop under 5 minutes is now being referred to as the Parmesan maneuver. You heard it here first, folks.
Hashtag parmesan levelers. Levelers
You're making me
and
hungry.
I've been casting for the past 2 hours with the smell of pizza in this house, and it is horrible because I can't have the pizza. You just it's
so bad for
like
you.
torture. It's like torturing a kid in a candy shop. It's not.
Oh dear, they
nice.
pinged the second factory, and I just don't see what black have got to answer to this.
I think it's running away from them.
Their army is too small and in the wrong place and in the wrong format. They've got two commanders sat there hugging that tier 2 factory like it's going to somehow grant them eternal life. But here come the Kaijus, and the Kaijus and the commanders don't get on very well.
They do not.
Bombers,
Oh,
however,
the bombers!
there are no
Yeah, there's no
anti-air
anti-air
units near those Kaijus.
Oh dear, this is where typhoons could come in handy with their squalls.
Except, yeah, they haven't built any, so
Yeah.
maybe not. And here we go, so the bombers come over and hashtag multi-pass those Kaijus. But
Yeah, the
doesn't
multipass is
matter,
real.
because here come the cavalry.
The spinners in there as well should be able to deal with the bombers. And as I said, the commander's just having to retreat to the temple. So at least it was good that they put that temple up there in the initial phase.
But the temple's not safe either.
the temple is not safe either. And the unit counts, they have 35 units to their name.
You'll be pleased to know there's a storm in there as well, Marshy.
Oh, good. I'm happy with that.
Are you happy with that? Good.
I'm very happy with that storm.
There's a storm inside the temple.
The Temple of Storms.
Now, we've already established this. It's the Storm Church. Why? Why would you whistle that?
I was trying to whistle. I was thinking of the windmill song from Legend of Zelda, but it came out as Game of Thrones theme.
That's not remotely similar. Let's go back to the game we're actually watching now, not some Nintendo game. So, at the moment, I actually see that the temple is utterly surrounded.
It is utterly surrounded, and the commander here in range of a few levelers.
Oh dear, I think this is about to
Karma-
be some payback.
Yes, karma is wonderful
That's
revenge.
one down, and they are about to follow through. There's another commander just around the corner. He will be lucky to escape. I suspect he won't. They're charging in their units, a last-ditch effort to try and deal with this. Nowhere near sufficient numbers. Commander is doing a runner, but he's just not fast enough. He's quite slow. He's got no one pushing him. Large force of levelers following through. That commander is history. Except it's been intercepted a little bit. Okay, he's maybe got a few more minutes to live.
Well, we're just watching Commander now from the dynamic camera.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
A few shots.
That's
and
all
he'll
it's
go
going to take.
down.
That's all it's going to take. He is in so much trouble right now. Those turrets might be able to finish off. The bombers desperately dealing with those.
But the storms are there. Do the bombers decide to keep their commander alive or trade for the storm?
Oh, so close. I don't know why they're keeping him alive at this point. It's just extending and delaying the inevitable. I'm expecting the GG at any moment from the black player, which is a shame because they pulled off such an amazing start. I was really, really pleased with that. I was in shock, but then they just put too much into that, and they just didn't have anything to deal with number 2. I think they were hoping that the blue team would have done what they did, which was start with both commanders together, in which case they would have won the game there and then. But because they've split them up, that was just complete and utter chaos. And now we know, of course, why they started with their 2 commanders together, which was to focus on that tier 2 factory. But it hasn't paid off for them. They conceded too much map control in order to do so.
And there's not a lot the commander can do now.
Yeah.
He's getting chased down by the tanks there. The ants coming in to deal with this calm.
A swarm of ants.
Who said that ants were not something to be feared, eh?
Oh, hey! If you're not afraid of ants, you've obviously not been to the right countries. You don't know ants like I know ants. That was an absolutely spectacular game, exotic almost, a rare specimen of game, complete and utter meta-defying nonsense, but exciting nonetheless.
You heard it here first, folks. Meta-defying nonsense. Wrong Cat 2015.
I stand by that. That was an absolute nonsense game in terms of traditionally accepted strategies, but my God, was that fun to watch. And you know what? If that had gone only slightly differently in those first few minutes, Black could have pulled that out of the bag. If that had been, if Blue had started together, if they had had a reserve strategy for that second commander, that could have been it there and then, sniped within 4 minutes. And certainly within about 2 minutes of the game actually starting, the commander spawning in. Don't forget, of course, the game clock doesn't account for that either. So that was absolutely fantastic game. Really well played by both teams. I do wish that Black had had a bit more to follow through on that, because I would have liked to have seen them rewarded for that outside the box thinking of theirs.
Yeah. Well, coming up next, though, is the finals. And it's... I don't think it's... Oh no, it is a best of 3.
Oh, it's best of 3. This is a quiz tournament we're talking about here.
Yeah.
As if he would go that easy on us.
It's yeah, the first game is fought in the Ort system, and thereafter the loser chooses from the tournament pool. The game is going to be fought between Pizza Money and Pie of the People. So Pizza Money being Andreas G and Burnt Custard versus the recently victorious Pie Man and Alpha.